In a previous video, we discussed how Dooku attempted to save Obi-Wan from Order 66 in the final days of the Clone War. As revealed within the Revenge of the Sith novelization, during the Battle of Coruscant, just prior to his duel with Anakin and Obi-Wan, Dooku had a conversation with Darth Sidious, where they discussed details of their plans that would ultimately bring Anakin to the dark side of the Force as an ally of the Sith. During this conversation, Dooku suggested to Sidious that they give Obi-Wan one final chance to join them, believing that having the support of a Jedi with his integrity would be valuable in helping to establish the political legitimacy of their new empire. In the end, Sidious dismissed Dooku's suggestion, telling his apprentice that Obi-Wan was too influenced by the Jedi and their beliefs to attempt to make him their ally. For Sidious, it was established on Geonosis at the start of the Clone War that Obi-Wan was committed to serving the Force itself, and therefore, given Obi-Wan's conviction, there was nothing they could do to change that. Ultimately, Dooku agreed with Sidious and let go of his attempt to save Obi-Wan, instead seeing the Jedi's death as a necessary element that would bring Anakin's allegiances on the side of the Sith. But it's an interesting discussion within the novel where we see that Dooku wanted Obi-Wan to join him and Sidious just prior to their duel in Episode 3. But importantly for our video today, as seen within the Legends novel Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, it's revealed that despite their devastating duel, Darth Vader had also wanted Obi-Wan to join the dark side with him on Mustafar. In today's video, we'll look at the thoughts Vader had only weeks after the events of Revenge of the Sith, where as revealed within the Rise of Darth Vader, we see what Vader wanted to occur prior to his duel with his former friend and mentor, Obi-Wan. Based upon how the scene played out in Revenge of the Sith, it doesn't seem that Vader wanted or would have cared if Obi-Wan joined the dark side with him on Mustafar, given how the confrontation ultimately went. By the time of Mustafar, Vader was committed to a path that embraced the dark side, carrying out the destruction of the Jedi Order. Not only that, Vader was infuriated upon seeing Obi-Wan on Mustafar, believing he was brought to the planet by Padme to eliminate him, going so far as to force choke Padme. From there, Vader and Obi-Wan had a conversation, but it was short and deteriorated very quickly, with it clear that both of them were committed to completely different paths, their lightsaber duel therefore being the outcome. The resulting duel between them was so destructive and feels so inevitable once Obi-Wan emerged upon Mustafar that it doesn't appear that Vader would have wanted Obi-Wan to join the dark side and ally with him. Instead, given the events seen in Episode 3, it seems that the opposite is true. By the time of their confrontation on Mustafar, Vader had completely turned against Obi-Wan. However, at the same time, we do see that Vader doesn't immediately attack Obi-Wan, and does at least have a brief conversation with him. Not only that, but it's Obi-Wan who ignites his lightsaber first, just prior to the duel, with Vader then quickly doing the same and initiating the duel. This isn't to say that Obi-Wan was the main catalyst of the duel or clearly wanted the confrontation between them to end in a lightsaber duel on Mustafar, but I think we can at least see that Vader did offer Obi-Wan some opportunity to listen to him, suggesting that there was some part of Vader that was hopeful Obi-Wan would understand and join the dark side with him in the end. Regardless, the way the scene plays out in Revenge of the Sith does work well with the information from the Rise of Darth Vader novel, as we get to see some of the thoughts Darth Vader had regarding what he ultimately hoped Obi-Wan would have done on Mustafar. Following a duel Vader had with a Jedi who survived Order 66 upon the planet of Marcana, only a few weeks after the events of Revenge of the Sith Lord began considering a number of different aspects as a result of the duel. The Jedi was able to land a lightsaber strike to Vader's left forearm, and given that only Asajj Ventress, Dooku, and Obi-Wan had had the abilities to be able to injure him previously, Vader wondered how an undistinguished Jedi Knight was able to do so as well. Initially, Vader considered that perhaps the injuries he sustained on Mustafar had resulted in him also losing his strength in the Force. Vader would then also blame the injury he sustained in the duel upon the inept medical droids who assisted him after Mustafar. Even more, Vader blames Sidious himself, questioning whether Sidious had deliberately engineered his suit and cybernetics to burden him, perhaps as a punishment for his failure on Mustafar, or simply as a way to weaken him, diminishing the threat Vader posed to him. Ultimately, Vader rejected these possibilities regarding Sidious, instead concluding that it wasn't Sidious's actions that resulted in his reliance upon his suit and cybernetics, but the actions of Padme and Obi-Wan. At this point, in considering the actions of Padme and Obi-Wan on Mustafar, Vader was adamant. The path he chose was an attempt by Vader to save them, not just Padme, but importantly for our video here, Obi-Wan as well. Of course, Vader wanted to save Padme from death, But he also had another goal. He wanted to save Obi-Wan from ignorance. Only weeks after the events of Revenge of the Sith, Vader recognized that the love Obi-Wan had for him had been influenced by what he saw as betrayal. But from Vader's perspective, he hadn't betrayed Obi-Wan or Padme at all. Instead, he saw that his joining the Sith was a necessary element to bringing peace to the galaxy, with the destruction of the Republic and Jedi Order being a requirement. The novel The Rise of Darth Vader makes it clear that Vader had, quote, only wanted to save them, whereby he not only saved Padme from death, but where he also saved Obi-Wan from ignorance. Doing so by having both Padme and Obi-Wan recognize his power, to simply accede to him, and to merely accept on faith that he knew what was best for them and everyone. With Vader believing that he saw what was needed and that he took the actions that were necessary, he was forced to question why Padme and Obi-Wan hadn't followed his example by embracing the dark side as well. It's a great reveal within the novel, demonstrating that during the earliest days of the Empire, Vader continued to regret the fact that Obi-Wan couldn't be saved. That is, that Obi-Wan didn't accept the same path as Vader by embracing the dark side of the Force. In the end, Vader had to conclude that Obi-Wan was too set in his ways, not able to adapt because he was too inflexible, and quote, too brainwashed by the Jedi to recognize the power of the dark side. Instead of embracing the dark side as Vader had, the Sith Lord recognized that like himself, Obi-Wan had everything taken from him, including his friends, his family, and his purpose. These thoughts from Darth Vader within the novel The Rise of Darth Vader are interesting, as they show that in some way, while Vader had of course hoped that Padme could be saved from death and that she would join Vader on the path he'd chosen with the dark side, he hoped the same was true of Obi-Wan. Although Vader had committed himself to the destruction of the Jedi Order, and the fact the devastating duel between Vader and Obi-Wan seemed inevitable, the novel demonstrates that Vader had hoped Obi-Wan saw the actions he took not as a betrayal, but as something that was necessary, where in the end, Obi-Wan followed the actions of Vader and embraced the dark side as well on Mustafar, recognizing its power. So there we have it, how Darth Vader wanted Obi-Wan to join the dark side with him on Mustafar. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, former Canna.